Ismael Kone was one of very few shining lights and bright spots for Watford FC this season and this campaign in the Championship this year. But he still managed a very good season for a 21-year-old midfielder still learning his trade, albeit he still had a few ups and downs, but like I said, that should be expected for a young, talented midfielder. And now, off the back of a very good season for the Canadian, he's now attracting interest from some major sides across Europe, and most notably in Italy, as he's attracting interest from a true Serie A giant in one of the most historical sides in Italian football, as he's attracted interest from AS Roma. That is right, AS Roma are now being linked to a transfer and interest around Ismael Kone, the 21-year-old Watford and Canadian international midfielder. And this is extremely exciting from a Canadian perspective, as Ismael Kone is being linked via Corriere dello Sport, a very reliable outlet out of Italy, and also from Rome Express. And this would be a move I would absolutely love to see, as this would be a perfect fit for Ismael Kone to learn under a very up-and-coming and exciting manager, but most notably, a fantastic midfielder in his day, in Daniele De Rossi, who is the current manager for AS Roma, and has looked at a midfield profile that very much describes a midfielder in Ismael Kone, which is why I think this would be a perfect move for Ismael Kone to make that switch to AS Roma for so many reasons, because Daniele De Rossi is really looked at his midfield option and has recently really criticized not having that dynamic box-to-box option, that true number 8, which Ismael Kone absolutely fits the mold, fits the profile Daniele De Rossi has been criticizing and screaming out for that he needs at AS Roma this summer. But there's so many options Ismael Kone now has, and this would be a great move for Ismael Kone to make, in my opinion, away from that turmoil that Watford has. Never having a sustained manager is always tough for a young footballer. And Ismael Kone has shown that with a lot of ups and downs throughout his time at Watford, but this season has been very good, producing some assists and goals and being very creative up in the final third of the pitch. And for me, this would be a fantastic move. But before we break down how he would fit into the roster at AS Roma, if he'd be able to earn a starting spot, and if this is the right move in my opinion, make sure to drop down below in the comments. Is this the right move for Kone? Should he join Roma? Should he join a different side or stay at Watford? Let me know, but also drop a like and a sub, guys, because the support in the channel has been incredible recently, and I really appreciate it. But we're going to jump into the breakdown, because this is extremely exciting, because I would love to see Ismael Kone end up at Watford, because this is a great destination for him, as it's being reported by Corriere dello Sport and Rome Express that the Watford midfielder is being eyed by Roma as a top target. And you may ask, from a Canadian perspective, how has this come about? How is Ismael Kone now being linked to AS Roma? And it's a simple answer. That's due to Kone having the same representative and agent as Jonathan David. And Jonathan David has been in negotiations, has been getting talked to with the representatives of himself and Kone with the hierarchy of Roma to express a transfer and a possible move, as they're looking to move on from Romelu Lukaku. And then Jonathan David, with that meeting, had Ismael Kone's name being thrown about in that meeting as well around the representatives, because there is talk around Daniele De Rossi wanting a new midfielder and a certain type of midfielder, which is why Ismael Kone's name did come up, and this is where those rumors all spark from. And it's extremely interesting, because Daniele De Rossi, the current manager of AS Roma and a brilliant midfielder in his day, a fantastic Italian international, is looking for a certain type of midfielder, and like I said, has really criticized his midfield options this season. He doesn't have a true box-to-box, a proper midfield number 8, who can be a goal-scoring midfielder, who's very dynamic, who can carry the ball up the field and progress the ball with his dribbling and technique, which is truly what Ismael Kone is. Ismael Kone can move the ball with his passing ability, but also can get into the final third, can progress the ball up the field very well, as is this season with his progressive carries, sits in the 91st percentile among all midfielders in the world of football, with 2.57 per 90, which is extremely impressive, which is exactly why his name came about. And Daniele De Rossi, with that midfield profile he's looking for, would suit Ismael perfectly, as Ismael Kone is truly that number 8. He can move the ball up very well with his dribbling, he can progress it with his feet and carry the ball, as well as spray passes around, but also having that bigger stature at 6'2", he has that presence that fits an AS Roma type of player, and I think this would be a great fit. which is why he's looking to go to AS Roma, and which is why Daniele De Rossi has his name thrown around, because the players that AS Roma right now have are more so midfield destroyers, breakers up in the play, a true number 6 or a advanced number 10. As right now their midfield options are such as a Lorenzo Pellegrini, a number 10. You could look at Renato Sanchez, whose loan will be ending in June. They also have Hassam Aouar, a more so, wouldn't say a true 8, but can play in a certain kind of midfield role around that. But also they have the likes of Leandro Paredes and Brian Cristante, who are both number 6s and are aging both 29 years old. So Kone would enter this side as a 21-year-old, and also they have Bove, who is a very exciting academy product who is Italian. You pair him up alongside Kone with the likes of a Pellegrini up top would be a very exciting midfield. But the fact that Daniele De Rossi is looking for a certain type of midfield profile that really describes what Kone is. A taller midfielder who's very strong on the ball, who can carry and progress the ball up the field as well. And as you've seen, Kone this year has really taken his game to another level. You could see in the final third, he's really been able to progress more, having 4 goals, 3 assists this season, creating more chances, being able to get his head up and create more as well. And he's been very exciting, having 42 matches, 2,500 minutes played across this season. And it's amazing to see that Kone has had such a progression. And for me, there's a clear way for him and a pathway for him at Roma to earn starts and to getting that starting lineup. You could say it's a bit of a shaky one, but joining a bigger side, you need that really a pathway for Kone to be able to break into and a pathway for him to be able to start. And when you look at AS Roma and their current midfield, there really is that pathway. Yes, they have Bove, who is 22 years old, a great academy product, looking very well this season, had a lot of starts, played fantastically, who is more so a ball-playing midfielder who can pick out very intricate passes and win strong tackles. But they don't have, like I said, that midfield profile that Daniele De Rossi wants. A Kone type player who can carry the ball, dribble the ball, taller stature, which is quite well known for a AS Roma type player to be stronger, to have a bit more physical side to you, a bit more strong nature, which Daniele De Rossi explains well. That's exactly what he was. And for me, also another great thing you can get with Ismael Kone going to AS Roma is you'd be under a manager like Daniele De Rossi. Yes, he's an upcoming manager, still has a lot to prove, but he's done very well since stepping in for Jose Mourinho at AS Roma. He's up and coming, but he bleeds AS Roma. That's who he is. That's who he played for. He was a true AS Roma legend. And I think Ismael Kone getting in to not just learn under a manager like Daniele De Rossi, but to learn under the player who he was, to be able to take parts of Daniele De Rossi's game and learn off of him on a weekly basis, like we've seen with certain players that Leverkusen learned from Xavi Alonso. I think Ismael Kone could do the same with a legendary midfielder like Daniele De Rossi and take bits of his game on a weekly basis, whether it's through training, whether it's through tackle-wise, and just learn, because it's a great stepping stone. Just another Canadian getting in with a top player, a top manager, and getting into that sort of space to be able to learn from some of the best, whether it's to put himself around some of the best players in world football, which he would be at a club like AS Roma, getting into a country with another Canadian in Tajon Buchanan, possibly joining Jonathan David at AS Roma as well. It just makes sense for Ismael Kone to join AS Roma for so many reasons. And the fact that they're screaming out for a profile of a player like Ismael Kone, it really is just a transfer that really makes sense. It seems like a no-brainer for Ismael Kone. Like I said, if this is concrete, if this is a reliable outlet coming out saying this, which I think they're reliable. I'm not saying this is a deal that I think is going to happen. I'd say right now this is probably a 6.5, a 7 out of 10. Could possibly happen. It's still up in the air. Just the fact that that's the kind of player that Daniele De Rossi is looking at, it's the kind of player Daniele De Rossi wants, and the fact that they're having conversations with the representative and agents of Ismael Kone, it's already making sense, and I think the ball is already rolling. I think it'd be a great spot for him to get away from that Watford turmoil and that Watford turnover of manager, because it's so hard for a younger player to have any sustained sort of success at Watford. the way they have such a turnover of managers. So it's very difficult for him at Watford, and I'd love to see him make that jump to a bigger club like Roma. It's just, is that step up too big to join a Roma? Should he join a lower downside in Serie A? That is truly the question, but for me, joining AS Roma would be a perfect move for Ismael Kone. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Make sure to drop a like, hit that sub button, because the appreciation and support on the channel has been incredible, and it's so fun interacting with you guys as well in the comments. And I'll see you guys for the next one. Peace.